Our One and Only Sustainable Earth, The Habitable Planet by Sarah Clifford. All of our things we have learned about in units 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all interconnected. We can't have one without the other. We wouldn't have the ocean shores from oceanology without having the way the rocks are formed in geology. The habitable planet of Earth is because of the way everything is connected within the atmosphere, the weather and climate changes that keep us sustainable, the rocks and the rocks layers, plate tectonics, and how they move and create different structures like mountains and volcanoes. I just really feel that interconnectedness of those topics lead us to being the habitable planet. Earth as a complex, interrelated system. Again, you see the ecosystems that we had learned about where we can't have the vegetation here and the trees without soil. We don't get soil without the rock cycle that the sedimentary rock is broken down into sediments that create that soil. Would we have the erosion to make sedimentary rocks without the water flowing that creates, erosion or different chemical components from acid rain, radiation that breaks down different components of our habitable Earth. Earth's atmosphere. We know that we can see differences between our atmosphere and other planets' atmosphere. We learned it in our last unit. We learned that Venus and their carbon dioxide overload that traps heat makes it so they can't be habitable. It's too hot for life to be living. But here we are in Earth's atmosphere and we have greenhouse gases, but it's at a level where we can still sustain life. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. We're the perfect distance from the sun. I wonder if we would ever be something we can reverse and have life on Venus. I don't know because it is so hot. But we also always hear about life on Mars, right? But there you don't see the same atmosphere and it's much colder than it is on Earth. But we do see the similarities in the terrestrial planets with their rocky surfaces. But Earth is the habitable planet. And I feel like the first thing you have to look at is Earth's atmosphere for that. Secondly, our weather and climate. We didn't get to learn a lot about that on other planets, except that we know that their temperatures, and Jupiter has the red spot that has some storms, but like with our storms and our oceans and the different clouds you can see, it's habitable, but also beautiful. And we wouldn't have some of the other components of the geology part without the ocean, roughing up the shorelines and having acid rain or other rain and precipitation in general that erodes part of the earth and the mountains to create new things, new life, new rocks. The shoreline. I just think about the shoreline and how we learned that there are different ways to, prevent hurricanes and the damage that it causes. But would we be habitable if we didn't have those big storms? Oh my goodness. Without hurricanes and the erosion and the changing of the way the earth looks, would Pangea ever have changed? Because of plate tectonics, we know, and the continental drift, we know that our earth has been ever changing slowly over 4.9 million years. And it is because they are all interconnected. So we wouldn't have the shorelines we have and the beaches we have and the ocean currents that we have, moving warm water into cool water and creating the different temperatures, whether it's on the East Coast or the West Coast of the US, without all of these different features. We know in astronomy, we learned that we didn't see plate tectonics in any other of the planets. So plate tectonics could be another one of the core reasons why we have the habitable planet of Earth. We see here is a picture of the planets, and Mercury is clearly close to the sun, which could make it too hot. Then Venus, we know, full of carbon dioxide, is not going to sustain life because of its ridiculously high temperature. Earth, our sustainable planet, you can see the blue color of where the ocean changes the albedo of the atmosphere. Mars, which is rocky and much cooler than Earth. And then we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, which are the Jovian planets. So therefore, they aren't going to sustain life because they are mostly composed of gases where we would not be able to live. So all in all, Earth is our habitable home. I'm thankful for the weather we experience, the atmosphere that keeps the weather livable, and the variety of cycles that keep Earth ever changing over time, but not to such extremes that we cannot sustain life. I'm thankful for the interconnectedness of the different parts of the science of Earth. I really do believe that you can't have one without the other. I don't know if plate tectonics or the atmosphere are really the core reasons why Earth is sustainable. I do know that to keep us the habitable planet, we need to take better care of ourselves in our Earth because we don't treat it properly. I'm wondering if the changes that happen on Earth that associate with volcanoes and hurricanes, we just keep adapting to sustain life. Other planets haven't even gotten to sustain life, and their temperatures and their weather and such are not adaptable because you can't even start somewhere. But here we can. We're building better systems for those in needs, as well as building structures to help minimize damage on shorelines for natural disasters. And I think that if we go way back to Alfred Wegener's theories and evidence of the continental drift, I think that, that is just profound and possibly where we can start to understand the ever-changing Earth, the way cycles move together in our cycles move together to create Earth being habitable, and the slow change over time in 4.9 million more years. If we take care of our Earth, we might see that it looks a lot different because the continental drift is probably just still happening throughout the day and in such small increments that we never know. So that is why Earth is our habitable planet.